This is the Pirates POSTCAST, your instant game reaction for the Pittsburgh Pirates. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Runners in scoring position. That's the theme of today's postcast here on the Locked On Pirates postcast, here on the Locked On Pirates YouTube channel. My name is Nathan Ostler from North Shore 9, and the Buccos drop Game 3 of the series in San Diego and the final game of the West Coast portion of this 9-game road trip. 3-0 against the Padres. They somehow win the series in San Diego. They beat the Padres in a series for the first time since 2023, but in a game they were aiming to get the sweep, they could not hit with a runner in scoring position. Final score is 3-0. If you want more Locked On Pirates, make sure to check out Gary Morgan here on the Locked On Pirates YouTube channel. He has you guys covered Monday through Friday, talking all things Buccos. And I am for sure this is going to be something he is going to be talking about with you guys. Definitely tomorrow, I would think so. Because this offense, let's just start with this offense. Today, we're going to be talking Bubba Chandler's outing. I do want to discuss Nick Gonzales' defensive woes. Yet again, costed the Pirates a run that made it 2-0. And then let's just kick things off, though. I want to kick things off with this offense. Today, 5 hits. Yesterday, they won 1-0 thanks to O'Neal Cruz. The day before, they won 3-2, or it was 4-3. It was a late game thanks to a Nick Gonzales base hit up the middle in the 12th inning. Today, with runners in scoring position, the Pittsburgh Pirates went 1 for 13. They left 10 runners on base. By the 7th inning, when Rafael Flores Jr. came up to bat with a runner in scoring position, Joe Block said on the broadcast, at that point in the series, they were 1 for 23. Flores Jr. would strike out in this AB, and I tried my best to keep track of the overall runners in scoring position batting for this team. Triolo had an infield hit. It didn't do anything in that inning. But by the end of it, they did have runners in scoring position in the 8th, back-to-back base hits. If I did my math right, runners in scoring position this series for your Pittsburgh Pirates, 2 for 29. That's not going to do it. And we can say injuries derailed this team. You know, you lost Cruz for a while. You lost Horwitz for a while. You lost Griffin for a long time. You've lost O'Hearn now twice in the season. Endy Rodriguez just had surgery today. He's going to be out 7 to 9 months before he can play baseball again, so around the All-Star break next year. But it's like, oof. Is it really just the injuries that derailed this team? The lack of offense in the second half has single-handedly been a big aspect of what has happened to this team. And it's going 2 for 29. They hit again, if I did my math right. But at the time, 1 for 23 when Flores Jr. came up to hit in the 7th inning. Like I said, if I added it up right in the 7th and 8th, they want to combine 2 for 29 with runners in scoring position this series in San Diego. That's not good enough. That is horrible. And you have O'Neal Cruz back. You have Spencer Horwitz back from injury. You have Brandon Lau still. You have Brian Reynolds, who has been kind of a ghost in this second half. But today, Horwitz, 2 hits. Lau, 2 walks. He got on base, but no hits for him. Reynolds had a hit. Valdez had a hit. Cruz had the home run last night, had a walk today. Other than that, he went 0 for 3 with the walk. Nick Gonzales, 2 strikeouts. Jake Mangum, 0 for 3. Rafael Flores had a strikeout and an 0 for 4 performance. Jacob Gonzalez, 0 for 2. Yet again gets pinch hit for Jared Triolo, which Triolo had the pinch hit single, but it was an infield hit that didn't do anything there. 5 hits, one of which was by a pinch hitter today, Jared Triolo. Like I said, Horwitz with 2 in the leadoff spot. He's been slumping ever since he's come back, but it's nice to see him get 2 hits today. Reynolds with the 1, Valdez with the 1. They went back-to-back with the singles in the 8th inning. But then Jared Triolo, of course, had the pinch hit in the 7th. But I want to go through some of these opportunities that the Pirates just failed to come through. And we're only going to look at the innings that they basically had a runner in scoring position. Because Vasquez, who is pitching for the Padres, comes up 5 innings, 1 hit, 2 walks, 2 strikeouts, a 4.02 ERA. They couldn't do anything against Vasquez. But in the second inning, Spencer Horwitz singles. Great stuff. Get something started. At the time, they were down 1-0. Let's get something going. Let's see if this offense can claw back into this. We've seen the fight this year. We saw it last night. We saw it last night with O'Neal Cruz and that home run off of Mason Miller, somehow a liner over the right field wall. Top of the 4th, Horwitz singles. Brandon Lau draws a walk on a 4-pitch walk. That is, he had another long AB later in the game. But he walks, runners on first and second. Here, the Padres gives you a gift. You have Vasquez getting a balk here. He did like a little fake throw over to first base, trying to get another disengagement. However, since it's a balk, they go to second and third. So now you got Horwitz on third, Lau on second. Great stuff. Brian Reynolds would then pop up to the shortstop Xander Bogaerts on the fourth pitch he sees. A change up down the middle, 87 miles per hour. Fourth pitch of the AB. You have to drop that in the outfield. You at least have to get it deep enough into the outfield, and you have to trust Brian Reynolds to do something in that moment. Like I said, Brian Reynolds has been a ghost basically this second half. You got your awesome June Brian Reynolds. Ever since, he hasn't done much, and it's been really horrendous to watch. The pop out here was the killer for me this inning because you have Esmeralyn Valdez up. He's been striking out a good bit as of late. He's been kind of slowly hitting out of this slump, had the home run the other night, but still, Valdez would strike out on a foul tip on 5 pitches. O'Neal Cruz gets walked. He draws the walk on 5 pitches. The Padres didn't give Cruz anything to hit. The only one he was able to make contact with was a foul ball on the first pitch he saw. So they walked Cruz to load the bases. Here you have Nick Gonzales, who has a high batting average. He strikes out on 4 pitches. He strikes out looking at pitch number 4. Horrendous. Absolutely horrendous stuff from the middle of this order. You need Brian Reynolds to come through there more than a pop-up to the shortstop. That's not acceptable stuff for a guy on a long-term contract. A guy who's supposed to be the veteran of this team. A guy who's been on this team. And this has been a really frustrating season for us fans. And seeing a guy like Reynolds do that in that situation just sucks to see. It sucks the life out of you. Valdez comes up. He's a young rookie. I can give the rookie a pass. And he's been striking. He's been slumping, I could say, ever since the All-Star break. Had a couple home runs in Cleveland, hit the one in New York, finally hit another one here in San Diego. But he's been striking out a good bit. High strikeout rate. The league has, I think, slowly been figuring him out, and he's had to adjust a lot. He strikes out there, but then Nick Gonzales striking out looking on 4 pitches on a call that was overturned, that was a clear strike. It stunk. It reeked. We're going to move on, though. Top of the 6th inning, the Pirates would get yet again single by Horwitz. Brandon Lau would walk on what would be an 11-pitch AB, great AB by Brandon Lau, yet again, first and second base. But then Brian Reynolds lines out to Jake Cronenworth, who makes a crazy diving play to rob Brian Reynolds of a base hit up the middle. And this is one of those where it's like, I can't even fault Reynolds for this one. This is the defense of the other team the Pirates always play, somehow becoming web gems every single time. It's like the ball is the players on every other team the Pirates face, for some reason, it seems like when I'm watching a Pirates game most often, is I don't see any other team with this type of luck when I'm actually watching the games. This ball is just magnetized towards Jake Cronenworth's glove. An exit velo 104.8 off the bat. And yeah, it gets robbed. And I don't think it would have scored Horwitz. It would have loaded the bases, though. So there's an out. Esmeralyn Valdez grounds into the force out. On the transfer, though, he reaches. Cool. It should have been an inning-ending double play. But then O'Neal Cruz flies out to the center fielder, Jackson Merrill, on the 6th pitch he sees. And yeah, they couldn't do anything there with a runner in scoring position. Let's move on to the 7th inning. This is where I want to kind of break this down even more. Nick Gonzales would walk after the pitching change to Griffin Canning, who replaced Kyle Hart. Nick Gonzales walks. Jake Mangum hit by the pitch. Here we go. Runners in scoring position. Yet again for your Pittsburgh Pirates. Rafael Flores Jr. strikes out swinging. Then we see Yuki Matsui, who is a closer back in Japan. He would allow a base hit to Jared Trello on a ground ball to Xander Bogaerts. No play there. Bases are juiced. And just like that, you're like, okay, let's see what can happen. You have Horwitz coming up, who had the 2 hits. Brandon Lau had 2 walks today. They were the guys starting the offense. However, Horwitz strikes out swinging on 3 pitches, and then Brandon Lau strikes out swinging on 4 pitches. They saw a combined 7 pitches. Yeah. The guys who were doing the offense today, yet again, when a runner comes in scoring position, they just all forget how to hit. Let's go to the 8th inning. Brian Reynolds would single. Esmeralyn Valdez would single off of Bradley Rodriguez. Back-to-back hits. This Pirate, they make up for their misplays. They're not getting hits earlier in the game. They make up for it. However, O'Neal Cruz now strikes out swinging. His only strikeout of the day on 5 pitches. Nick Gonzales, after that, on 3 pitches, strikes out on a foul tip. So just like that, back-to-back strikeouts. And then good old Jake Mangum, the mayor, up with runners on first and second. The Pirates are running out of time. and he grounds out to the second baseman, Jake Cronenworth, on a changeup, 92.1 outs, low, like middle part outside of the strike zone. Would have been a strike according to the MLB website, but still probably not the best pitch to hit in that situation. Ninth inning, the Pirates did nothing. Flores Jr., line out, Triolo ground out, Horwitz pops out. This offense, they won the first two games. The way they hit in those two games, you might be like, how? Especially last night, Cruz, the hero. The night before, Nick Gonzales, the hero in 12. Both games, the bullpens were lights out. Tonight, the offense just gave any sort of pitching opportunity. If Bubba Chandler could have pitched his butt off today, Bubba Chandler could have threw a no-hitter today, this team would still lose. This reminded me of like whenever Hunter Green threw a no-hitter against the Pirates and the Reds still lost at PNC Park. That probably would have happened to Bubba Chandler today, the way the Pirates offense looked in San Diego. But the San Diego woes still equaled a series win somehow. They're 2-4 on the road trip so far. They got 3 games in St. Louis coming up. Mr. John in the comments will get to some of these. Tough Pirates loss. We left too many players on base. Completely agree. Like I said at the top of the show, 10 runners left on base, 1 for 13 today with runners in scoring position, and that hit was an infield single by Jared Triolo. Bax says, well, the 2-game winning streak was fun. Back to not trying. Fire Charrington. I have my thoughts on Charrington, and I think you can all tell by my emotion here what I think about Ben Charrington as Pirates general manager. However, when we come back, I do want to talk briefly about Bubba Chandler's outing, and then we're going to talk about Nick Gonzales at third base. Stick right there. We'll be right back. A big thank you to our friends at Amazon for this limited break. This back-to-school season, spend less on your kids with Amazon. We all know how crazy the back-to-school shopping experience can be. It starts with a few items on the list, and suddenly you're shopping for supplies, clothes, lunch gear, tech, and about 10 other things you didn't see coming. It adds up fast. When you look at the school supply list and wonder if you're shopping for one child or opening a small office supply store, you might not realize first grade, for example, required this much inventory. Shopping like this can get out of control if you're not careful, and Amazon can help you guys with that. And also when it's 9 p.m., the night before school starts, and somebody suddenly remembers they need folders, notebooks, markers, and apparently 12 other things nobody mentioned until now. Nothing gets the heart rate up quite like emergency school shopping. I'm convinced Prime's Delivered Tomorrow Before 7 a.m. feature was created exclusively for parents in this moment. So remember, with Amazon's low back-to-school prices, just spend less on your kids, because every dollar you don't spend on them is a dollar you haven't spent on them. Shop back to school at Amazon and spend less on your kids. Okay, I want to cover Bubba Chandler really briefly before we go, and then we're going to get to Nick Gonzales' defense today. 5 2/3 for Bubba, 4 hits, 2 runs, one of which was earned. The other one came in thanks to the error. 2 walks, 3 strikeouts. Bubba Chandler, a 4.26 ERA right now. Like I said, Bubba Chandler could have, like at the end of the last segment as a joke, I basically said, Bubba Chandler could have threw you a no-hitter with a bunch of walks, and the Pirates still wouldn't have done anything on offense. I think he was in a lose-lose situation today. I think any Pirates pitcher was. Lake Bacher, an inning and a third, a strikeout. Kirby Yates did struggle, though. This was probably the worst Kirby Yates has looked as a Pirate. 2/3 of an inning, 3 hits, 1 earned run, 2 walks, 1 strikeout. Noah Murdoch comes in, gets out of the jam in the bottom of the 8th, keeps it at a 3-0 game. He goes a third of an inning. But Bubba Chandler, I just want to break down his game so far, kind of batter by batter really quick, because I did like some of what Bubba Chandler did today, but you could tell at some points he was working through some stuff. He gets Fernando Tatis Jr. to line out sharply, pretty hard hit ball. Jake Cronenworth would walk, but then he gets Manny Machado to ground into the double play right after. Pretty quick inning there in inning number 1. Bottom of the 2nd, Ty France would line out. Jackson Merrill will double. Then Luis Rengifo follows it up with a single. However, a great throw by Rafael Flores picks off Luis Rengifo right after that. So good stuff there by Rafael Flores. Rafael Flores Jr., that is. He has shown some strides at catcher. I'm still not the biggest fan of the Rafael Flores Jr. trade, but I've liked what he's done this year. I can give all the props in the world to that. He has looked pretty solid with the bat. He's had some ups. He's had some downs. He's kind of been cooling off as of late, but he has also shown some things behind the plate. It hasn't been the greatest, but today had a great throw, had a nice tag on an amazing throw by O'Neal Cruz to get a guy out at home. That was another solid defensive play by Cruz in the outfield. And like I said a couple of days ago when I was last on with you guys, Cruz has shown some strides in the outfield. It still hasn't been great, being honest there, but still Nice play at the plate by Flores to get a guy out there. So nice throw, nice tag. We go to the bottom of the third. However, it's 1-0 now. Bogarts, Freddie Fermin, Fernando Tatis. I'll go 1, 2, 3 with flyouts and groundouts in that order. And then in the bottom of the fourth, and we're going to kind of bleed this into what I want to talk about with Nick Gonzales really quick. So Jake Cronenworth strikes out swinging. Manny Machado hits a routine grounder to the third baseman. This is, of course, after the Pirates are now down 1. They failed to score. This was after Nick Gonzales ended the last inning with the strikeout looking. With 1 out, Nick Gonzales overthrows Spencer Horwitz, and this would be Nick Gonzalez' 15th error this season. And after this, Ty France would pop outs, and there's 2 outs, and then Jackson Merrill would triple. That error doesn't happen. It's 1-0. Because there's no runner on first base. Merrill's just at third with the triple, and then you get Luis Rengifo to ground out after that. These errors got to stop. I don't know how you fix this, because let's think about this. And this is something Gary can talk to you guys more about, more than likely. Brandon Lau's probably leaving this offseason. If I were a betting man, I'd probably put money on that. Nick Gonzales would probably move back to second base, but with how bad his defense has been, and he's shown some bad defense at second base, he can't DH him because he's not a power guy. I don't think he would be a good, sure. I just don't think he'd be the greatest option as a DH. I don't know what you do with him this offseason. I don't know if you just send him somewhere to just work on nothing but defense and see if he can just figure it out, because it has been horrendous at third base and it's costed them multiple things. Just think about the play a couple weeks ago back in Cincinnati where they lost the Skeens game and they came all the way back, and then he's just throwing a ball past Brandon Lau. Just throw in, the announcers just throw it to first base. And today it was just throw a simple grounder to first base, and he overthrows Horwitz, and he's lucky he didn't go into the Padres dugout. But yeah, that made it 2-0 thanks to that triple. And then Bubba Chandler would get the first 2 guys in the 6th. He would get Cronenworth to fly out, Machado to strike out. Then he would allow a single to Ty France, and then that would be it for Bubba Chandler. So overall, solid day for Bubba Chandler. I think he did enough for the Pirates to at least have a chance to win. Like I said, only 1 earned run today, 2 of which come in, though, thanks to the error by Nick Gonzales. They have to figure out Nick Gonzales in this defense, guys, because I'm a big believer in what Nick Gonzales has done with the bat. He hasn't shown up in a lot of these situations, though, clutch-wise. I know he had the walk-off the other night, but, however, failed to do a lot tonight in good situations, especially with striking out looking in that 4th inning. That was a big one with the runners in scoring position. However, like I said, did have the walk-off. Nick Gonzales is still hitting .305, but the defense guy, it's rough. And it's one of those things where it's like they had Brian Hayes last year who couldn't hit, but he was an amazing fielder. This year, Nick Gonzales hitting for a solid average, not a lot of pop, but he's one of the worst defenders you could probably ever watch. So I hope he can get it figured out, but they're going to have to figure something out with Nick Gonzales, his defense at least, because like I said, I don't see him as a DH option because there's not a lot of pop there. I see that as Valdez next year, a DH option. But yeah, that's about it today. The Pirates offense didn't really give me much to talk about with you guys. Off day tomorrow. Then I'll be back with you guys, I'm pretty sure, on Friday for the Cardinals series that's starting up. Pirates are now 65-70, still 4th in the NL Central. Padres 72-62, 2nd in the NL West. This was a game the Padres desperately needed because the Pirates were kind of playing spoiler for them. And the Pirates they have to find ways to win. They needed a series dub. Like I said, this was the first series win against the Padres since 2023. First road series win for the Pirates since the Cleveland series. And also, if I heard this right on the broadcast, which kind of flabbergasted me, 15 shutout losses leads the majors now for the Pittsburgh Pirates. That's where I'm going to close things out. Thank you guys always for watching. Make sure to subscribe to the channel down below. Make sure to check out Gary Morgan here on Locked On Pirates. And yeah, we'll be back with you guys this weekend for the Cardinal series. As always, let's go Bucks, and we'll see you next time. Have a great rest of your night, everyone.